Hello again, Fleet Commanders. Tiberius here with another video of my new player tutorial series. I'm slightly behind and I apologize for that. I wanted to get the Ops 31 through 33 video out last weekend. Got a little sidetracked, didn't have time to get that one finished and together, but hopefully I'll get it out in the next week or so. But this right here I wanted to make sure to get done on time because this is my 6-month recap. For those of you who haven't been following the series as much, let's catch you up because that's what this whole video is. So back in the beginning of April, I think it was April 4th, right before the Battle Pass started for that month, I decided I wanted to create a second account. I wanted to go back through the game and see just how much things had changed. I wanted to do a new tutorial series because I had done one originally, some tips and some tactics and things for new players starting out back in 2020 when I was relatively a new player. And so much has changed in the game over the last 2 years. There's different researches, there's different factions, different officers, all these different mechanics and things in the game, new buildings and things that didn't exist back then, new research trees that just sort of changed the dynamic of how you do things and how long it took me to go from starting out all the way to, Ops 34, getting that first epic ship unlocked, Ops 40, 46, where I am now on my main account. How knowing what I knew, what corners could I cut, what things could I fine tune, what new features had they added to the game that would speed things up, and what would a new person starting the game see and face, and what would be a realistic expectation for them starting out to get where they wanted to get. And for most people, that's 34. That's getting that epic ship unlocked. And for most people, that ship is the Enterprise, right? That's people grew up watching Star Trek, watching, the Enterprise flying around the galaxy, whether it was the original series, Next Generation, the movies that came afterwards with the Next Generation, or now the movies we have now with the reboots with, Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and those guys that J.J. Abrams did, or even now the Strange New World show that premiered last year, or earlier this year rather, with Pike on the Enterprise, right? That's the ship people want. So if I started the game today, how long would it take me to get an Enterprise? And my goal was to do it in 6 months. So here we are. This is the last day. Tomorrow would be 6 full months. And the new Battle Pass for October is going to start. So before we get into any of that, I wanted to do this and see where I am. And as you can see, I did hit Ops 34. I was able to make it all the way from level 1 all the way to 34 in 6 months, and I didn't spend a dollar to do it. That's the important caveat. That's the important distinction. And this isn't one of those trick things where it's like, well, I didn't spend a dollar, but my alliance bought me some stuff, and so people on my YouTube channel thought, I'll throw him $20 and he can get a battle pass or anything like that. Even if I won like a raffle or something like that, and it was, hey, congratulations, you won a battle pass in a drawing, no, I didn't do any of that on this account. Zero. Zip, zilch, nada, nothing. No second builder, no second research queue. $5 treasury, was what was offered to me every month. Nothing. All of these primes all still sitting here. Second builder, second repair queue. None of it. I don't even have the Vault of Latinum over here. You're still seeing just the $4.99 packs because I haven't spent a dollar. This is what the algorithm is offering me. They're still showing the $99 stuff too because, well, that's what they do. No monthly packs, no primes, no officer packs, nothing. So we're going to go through, we're going to do a quick recap and see exactly what progress I made. And even now, as I'm sitting here ready to record this, there are still some things I'm thinking of that I could have done a little bit differently and probably could have gotten a little bit further. But we're going to get into that as we go through it. By the way, if you happen to like the video, you can leave some comments and stuff down below. But more importantly, just subscribe to the channel. We just hit over 700 subscribers, getting closer to that 1,000 goal. Which I set for myself and would like to get to 1,000 before the end of the year. It'd be even better to get to 1,000 before the end of the month because my birthday's at the end of the month and hey, yay, happy birthday, you hit 1,000 subscribers. But let's let's not get carried away here. So if I get to 1,000 by the end of the year, I'll consider that a win. So where are we? Ops 34. We'll go take a look inside the building. I hit this about a week ago, a little over a week ago. I think it was around September 25th, 26th. So maybe almost a week ago today. A couple buildings to upgrade here before I can get to the shipyard. I'm being wise about that because just looking at, the first building right here, the research and development that I have to do, it's 600 uncommon gas. I'm saving those materials as part of the strategy, being wise in how you spend. Saving these for the next leaderboard material spend event whenever it comes up. And there should be one coming up here pretty soon. The one we had last weekend or last week wasn't really all that great. So I'm kind of sitting on this a little bit. Hopefully with the new ARC launching tomorrow, we will get a better material spend event and the opportunity to get the most value out of those resources, which is really what this whole process is also about. If you're not spending any money, you have to get the most bang for your buck where you can, and that means picking and choosing which events you're involved in. So R&D has to go to 34. Some of these buildings also again require 100 gas here, 100 gas there. So we're going to get those all updated, and then we can get over here and get the shipyard to 34, and then we would be in position to build our epic ship. Most of the rest of the base here is at 32 or 33 for most of these buildings. Treasury's pretty close at 29. Exocomp Factory is right there at 33. Let's go into the hangar. I can look at refits. I can't look at ships this way. Let's go into the hangar and look at our ships. This is the exciting part, right? So what ships do we have? Well, sitting right here, we'll repair it real fast. We've got a Tier 6 Bortas. That is the level 28 faction ship. I pivoted midway through this. I was originally trying to skip the 28s completely so I could save all the resources and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Did run into a little snag with that just in terms of damage output and trying to do the higher level factions and hostile grinding and things to get the faction reps up. I didn't need to do it. I could have just stayed the course with that path with the Legionary, but it would have just limited me in other ways. It would have been all or nothing, basically an all-in kind of move, and it's a very aggressive strategy and one I wouldn't recommend for any new players. So, get yourself a 28 ship. They're pretty solid, and build up from there. So I have a Tier 6 Bortas, which is just over $1 million. Because I did say I was trying to skip it, I did invest a little more heavily in my Legionary, which is halfway through. It's Tier 7 and halfway to Tier 8. Getting to the point where I could almost scrap this and start getting some of those primes. So it's not like I shortchanged myself there, just sort of how I come in at resources. But again, it is also battleship. Battleships, that gets a little ore heavy. And since you do need ore, that does slow you down a little bit as well. We have a Stella. It's Tier 6, which means I'm able to do... I'm putting rare materials into it, but I was able to get the Stella unlocked, get it built, get it upgraded to the point where it's a pretty reasonable power for this ops level and is able to compete in armadas. Franklin here is Tier 8. This is the long and arduous final tier, which costs, it costs you about 6 million frequency modulators to go from 1 to 8. And then it costs you like 6.5 to 7 million frequency modulators to get this final tier to go from 8 to 9. So that's a thing that you can grind if you are of the persuasion to do that. But most people, they just sort of let Tier 8 through 9 kind of evolve over time. There's no real point. You don't need to be Tier 9 until you get to 35 anyway. So you've got some time to just sort of, do your dailies and things like that. Get your 40 or 50,000 frequency modulators a day from your missions, your daily missions, plus the hostile kills will give you another 15 to 20. So, just kind of work your way up over the course of a couple months from 8 to 9. We do have a Horizon. It's Tier 7. Its max cargo capacity is about 1 million. Its protected cargo Its cargo capacity is 760 there. Protected cargo is 28,000. That's without any officers or anything on it. You start throwing people like Ston on it. You get the you get the cargo up to about 1 million. You put, someone like T'Pring or any of the other officers on it. Protected cargo gets up to about 40k or so. I did build a North Star to help with the early levels. We do have an amalgam. Did just unlock this weekend. So just before the 6-month deadline. Unlock through Cosmic Cleanup. This does take a while. We'll cover that in more detail in my 31 to 33 video. But I did just sort of want to recap where I was able to put stuff, right? I was able to at least get it unlocked. Slightly higher cargo capacity. Protected cargo is about the same. But the warp range is much higher than the Horizon, so have some extra flexibility there. I have a Tier 4 Discovery. I have some of the research done for the Discovery as well. We'll look at that in a second, looking in the research trees. Research is certainly an area that I am behind on, just because with only one researcher and the amount of time these things take, there's only so much you can commit, and you really have to prioritize what you've done. We have a Botany Bay. This is Tier 8. It's getting close to being Tier 9 and finalized. It's not a huge priority, but it also doesn't cost a lot of real resources to invest in there. The Meridian, on the other hand, does cost a little bit more as we look at the resources for the Meridian to upgrade this, but I do have one. But it does cost, a little bit of the stuff you need for research, but more importantly, some of these components do cost gas and ore, and since the ore is also needed for the bigger battleships like the Bortas and the Legionary that I was building, plus a number of your ops buildings in terms of your operations itself, your refinery, some of the warehouses and vaults that they make you upgrade, and generators along the way. So prioritize the buildings over the Meridian. This does just fine for isogen mining. You get in, you grab 30, 40, 50k. Your protected cargo isn't that great. It's only about 10, 7 here. When you throw some officers on it, it gets to about 10 or 12. But then you're able to, you have your base in territory, hopefully, or near, your isogen mining nodes. You stock up for a few days and then just relocate afterwards. We have a Devore. Devore's Tier 7. This is another one that just sort of takes time to evolve because you're limited by the number of parts you can get, unless you're willing to commit from an event store. But a Tier 7 Devore. And again, this is also another one that you don't need maxed out until a little bit later, until you can scrap it for that Fuchsia, which is either at 35 or 36, I forget offhand, but bottom line is at 34. I don't need it maxed just yet, so I can take my time and keep building it up through, the daily refineries there. And then I have a couple of other junk ships that are really just more for like territory fights and things like that. But, we got a Meridian, we got a Discovery, we got an Amalgam. I have a Vidar that's around somewhere. That's in one of my other docks. I have a Vidar. It is Tier 6. So those are the ones for Cosmic Cleanup. We got the Discovery, we got the Vidar at 25. We got the Stella, we got the Franklin, we got the Amalgam, and this one is just sort of, it's halfway through, but now we're just waiting on some more frequency modulators to push it from 6 to 7. As far as officers go, we have quite a few. We'll sort these by group. So original crew, you know what, before I do this, let's look at reputation. Faction reps, I was able to lock the 2 factions that I was dual grinding, which was Romulan and Klingon. Got these both to 10 million, locked them out, and then I circled back for Federation. This is something that slowed me down a little bit from getting the Romulan credits, because I am working toward an Augur as my epic ship. I'm about halfway in terms of away team blueprints that I've acquired and faction credits that I have. I have about enough for about 80 blueprints right now total, and you need 150 to build it. I locked Romulan first at 10 million. Klingon was about 7.5 million, so I said, let's keep going, and I'll lock Klingon real quick and get that to 10 million and get it locked out. I should have left Federation in the negative at that point, but I was short on some of the Federation officers, didn't have Kirk and stuff, and kind of wanted to get those going. Plus, little OCD. So once I had 2 of them locked, it's like, let's get the 3rd one done real fast. That set me back a little bit. Because I stopped doing Romulan missions to try and get the Federation out of the negative, and that took a little while to get done. If I had just kept pushing with the Romulan and doing the Romulan dailies and things like that and missions and collecting all those extra credits, I'd be a little further ahead and I'd be a little closer to getting that auger unlocked. It also would be easier to then grind Federation rep if I had the auger, because then I could get further to other places that have higher level ships, and I could get the reputation in bigger chunks than what I have to do now. So keep that in mind if you're watching this and trying to recreate that step. Don't try and lock the 3rd one until you get your epic. That's really the takeaway from there. Augment is maxed out. Here, all million rep there completed. And Rogue is, we are currently an accomplice, which means that we do have the ability to get all 3 types of uranium. Doesn't start taking epics until tier 8 on the Stella, so we're not worried about this just yet. But rare is going to slow me down tremendously because it's a 3-day cooldown. You get only a limited amount, and each component takes, a tier 6 takes either 3,000 or 6,000 to get, so it's multiple turn-ins at 3 days apiece. So that's going to be a little while there. Now let's look at those officers, shall we? Alright, so we have our Federation crew. They're all right in that middle tier 3 range for the most part here. Again, because I said I wasn't focused on Federation officers and Federation reps, so I was not getting the faction credits, so I was not doing the recruit packs with the Federation. So that's why Spock is lower, Kirk is lower. Most people choose to go Federation because these are their favorite characters from the show. And they will have these officers higher along. Because I went Romulan and Klingon, my officers over there are further along. My Klingon officers are actually the furthest because, again, I'm saving the Romulan credits for ship blueprints, not spending them on faction recruit packs. I'm spending the Klingon credits on more of the faction recruit packs to also get those officers upgraded and start getting them into transporter patterns. We look at our Klingon crew here. These officers are all maxed. They don't have to be their final tier to start converting. I have all of the shards required for the uncommon officers here. They are converting into officer XP. I also have Kurla maxed. He is converting into transporter patterns. I need a few more Chang and a bunch more of Az shards to get her done. Then they'll start converting into transporter patterns as well. Gorkon's tier 3, which isn't bad, and he just kind of got there. He's going to need a little bit more to go. As far as the Romulans, these guys are a little bit in the middle here. Again, I could promote these guys all to tier 4, but I'm saving, they're going to cost, several thousand credits a piece, and I'm saving those for ship blueprints for that auger. The uncommon officers are maxed, though, and are converting into officer XP. And Nero is halfway through, over 3/4 of the way through, on his way to 15 as well. We get into some of the mid-level characters here. Mara, who comes from the Swarm Sunday events, is a little further along at level 15 than some of these other officers. But even the epics like Kang, I have managed to unlock, and Charvanek, Decius and Mirik, these guys are all kind of right in the middle of the road. Yuki, again, tier 2, Harrison unlocked, which is really all you really need for him to be effective, and Marcus as well. The main Pike, Moreau are tier 2 each, which isn't bad to get Pike unlocked and upgraded at least a tier. Moreau at least a tier, so they're getting some decent benefits there. And their stats are decent for carrying the ship. Mining crews, these guys are all tier 3. Have all their tier 3 abilities, so they're given about 150% protected cargo. He's adding the same to, cargo capacity. We don't have these officers. Mackinnon doesn't have sourcing in the game, and DuPont's kind of hard to get. Carol has been unlocked, worked on her skills with the away teams. She's one of the primary officers for that. If you see some of the other videos where I talk about away teams, you recognize that Carol's one of the officers I recommend you dump some away team credits into. Con crew. This is where you run into independent credit shortage. Independent credits are hard to come by unless you're going to buy them in an event store. Just regular things. You can get like 50 a day through the Augment store. It's a little pricey, and that's going to slow you down from getting the officer shards if you're buying the independent credits. And then these guys start costing, like I could boost Khan right now, but it would cost 1,100 independent credits to take him to tier 2, which is the same as what it takes for each of these guys to take them to tier 3. It's 1,100 credits. So a little bit of a log jam here with the old independent credits, not focusing so much on the uncommon officers anymore, and they've maxed out. The rare officers are, again, these guys could all be promoted to tier 3. Still have a little ways to go before moving up further beyond that. But Khan is the one we're prioritizing right now, just getting the independent credits for. You can also convert Latinum for it, but the conversion rate is like 50 Latinum for 1 independent credit. So do the math there. You need 1,100 credits. It's like 55,000 Latinum. Not something a free-to-play player would have access to. Mud Crew, because of the reputation that I have, the pack that I can claim from them gives you these 5 officers. The epics aren't available yet in that pack. I have to get the rep up higher, but not pushing to do that because it also makes everything else cost more. But the rares, the epics rather, just from regular ultra recruits, have made decent progress. Talon is just about maxed. A few more shards here, and she'll go to max in terms of hostile grinding there. And Chen has made pretty good progress as well. She's 100 shards away from being maxed out, so she's slightly behind, but she's at least still tier 4, which is good. And it takes, there's some players in the high 30s who don't even have her maxed yet because of how difficult sourcing can be sometimes for her. Crass has been unlocked, which is important there because he's the base defense captain there, anti-ROM. Very good for incursions. The rest of his crew is really just there for synergy, but you can see most of them. The uncommons are actually further ahead than the common officers, or just as far, because of just how sourcing works for some of these guys and the packs that they're available in compared to these guys only being in the standard recruit packs. We have our cadets. Scotty's maxed, which is the only important cadet. After about level 20, the rest of these guys don't really matter. You start getting better officer pools, except for Scotty, because his max +5 was recently able to get him maxed in the last week or two. +5 to warp range, letting you get further and reach further targets. As far as our board crew goes, still pretty limited here. Most of these guys haven't been unlocked yet, but they're getting close. And I am sitting on some ultra recruits, just waiting again for another good opportunity to spend them to try and maybe get 5 or 6 unlocked. But still quite a ways away, as you can see from the mining officers. Discovery crew is just about, most of these guys have been unlocked. Just a little short on Giorgio here, but was able to get these guys unlocked because of an event we actually have going on right now. I was able to get the Discovery refit, which now, about 2 weeks ago, I was able to get that unlocked. That will now boost my ability to source these officers, and I should start accumulating their shards a little bit faster. Now I'm getting 18 pulls per pack instead of 12, and it also puts Lorca in that pack, so it's going to slow. I have Burnham unlocked. If I'm going to get an epic now, it might slow me down a little bit between Giorgio and Lorca. The pulls getting divided might slow her getting unlocked a little bit, but it's also going to give me the ability to get to him sooner. Plus, I'll get more rare officer shards out of those packs to get these guys leveled up faster. It's a good refit. We wish it had been added to the game normally, but that Lorca was just available in that pack. But as far as refits go, it's a good refit, and if it's available in an event store, certainly something worth picking up. Our TOS crew, these guys are not real great for sourcing. I have Kirk because I got a lucky pull on Kirk in an Ultra Recruit pack, and then happened to manage to just get enough shards other ways through some some missions and things, and some other recruit pulls and events. Uhura, Sulu, the rest of the crew still locked up, as is Jayla. Next generation crew, some of these officers, these common officers, have been maxed out. As far as the regular next generation crew, again, they don't have a lot of individual sourcing. Occasionally they float around in, like every 3 or 4 months, there'll be an ultra recruit option for them where the pack costs a little bit more. I did make a few pulls on those, but still not able to get some of these officers unlocked. Worf is available now because we're doing Deep Space Nine, so Worf is mixed in with some of the Deep Space Nine officer sourcing that's currently going on with this event. So that's why I have him unlocked and actually, moved up a little bit in terms of number of shards compared to the rest of the crew, just because I'm getting more Worf shards this way. But these guys are all still locked. These guys are all still locked. Honor Guard Worf has a little ways to go. This will start to pick up a little bit more now that I have the amalgam unlocked. I can start getting, 2 to 3 Worf shards per week, plus any that happen to fall my way from Ultra recruits. Grush, Syndicate XP. We'll look at that in a second. But Grush is tier 2 and pretty close to tier 3. 2/3 of the way there. So we're moving along nicely with all of that. The new Officer Mavery is only available if you're like level 25, or Syndicate level 25 plus, I think, before he starts to come into play. Ferengi officers, this account was created after the Ferengi arc was over. The Ferengi arc ran in February and March, I think. Sounds about right. Lobes of Love seems to keep coming to mind. That I named one of my videos that, and I was talking about Ferengi officers right around Valentine's Day. So these officers don't have really good sourcing either. They're kind of, some of them are just sort of thrown into the mix with the Ultra recruits now. It was a recent update they made August or September. So there's a few more opportunities to start pulling some of them. But again, now that pool has been diluted more, so your chances of getting the officers that you need is a lot smaller. Excuse me. We look at our lower decks crew. The sourcing for these primarily comes from having the Cerritos and being able to do that refinery, much like the Discovery has a refinery. The Cerritos has a refinery, but the Cerritos is locked and you cannot build it until Ops level 36. So there was an event where I was able to unlock Tendi and Boimler. Did not get the rest of, and Badgie, because, well, Badgie was available. I think this was the month I started this account, and I was able to do all of the events. They were giving away Tendi for free if you completed all 27 days of missions throughout the month. You got a token, and at the end of the month, if you had them all, you got Tendi for free. So that was the promotion that they were running at that time. When things like that happen, you have to take advantage of it, because otherwise these officers go away and they don't come back for 6 to 12 months or possibly even longer before you get consistent sourcing for these people. Strange New Worlds crew, this was running on. This was what was running when I had sort of created the account. We were finishing up Lower Decks, which is how I got Tendi, and then we transitioned from there into Strange New Worlds. This is why these officers are unlocked. Pike, I did get a lucky pull on, which is why he's tiered up already compared to the rare officers that are still just the original tier 1, but they're all still good at that original tier. Una only comes from incursions. Hammer's a little more limited there as well. He was a little newer, added to the pool a little bit later on in the second month. The strike team officers was only able to get Una unlocked for free through the events. Came up a little short on Ortegas and La'an, and now we're into Deep Space Nine. Came up just a couple shards short in month number 1 on Benjamin Sisko. because of leaderboard events and such, and rankings. But O'Brien and Kira, because of the amount of shards and then oopsie chests and things from this month, got some extra shards for them, and they're actually already both tier 2 now. And Cisco's just 6 shards away, so I'm sure we'll have more events throughout the rest of this arc. There'll be more opportunities, hopefully, to get a handful of Cisco shards and get him unlocked as well. And then that'll be another crew that'll have accessible to me to work with, and we'll start picking up some of these other guys along the way that are fairly close, like some of the Borg officers and the Ferengi and things that are getting closer. We'll start to get unlocked, but have some good crews, have some good officers to cobble together to put some stuff together to work with, which is really, you know, what you can hope for. I did mention ship skins. Hopefully going to get the Stella skin. There's currently an event going on right now to pick up the remaining ones of this. This is through Apex, which happens in the months in between arcs. This is, again, just sort of chipping away at it over 2 or 3 months now, getting a few at a time. Don't have any of these refits yet, but I did get the Meridian refit through an event store. I purchased the Meridian and then purchased the refit for it. And through the current event we have going on now with Deep Space Nine, was able to use the currency to acquire the Section 31 refit, which, as you can see, gives 50% more officer shards in the recruit chests. So that's going to start to accelerate that there. Okay, so where's the drawback? Where's the big drawback for pushing like this, the way I did, and trying to get where I am? It is the research tab. There are a number of researches I wish I had done. I've only got 1 researcher because I didn't pay for any of the extra ones. And I'm at the point where a number of these researches take 3 to 6 days a piece to complete. So I am limited in terms of what I can speed up. I'm in an active alliance. I get 17 helps, reducing it by 17%. You spend a little latinum here and there, a little bit of speed ups here and there to try and complete stuff to, you know, so you're not really taking like a big hit on it. But right now this is, you know, almost 5 days, and there isn't a research event going on. So I'm not getting resources, or I'm not getting latinum and ultra recruits back for it. So this would be a negative. This would be something that I have to wait a little bit on until there's an opportunity to use it. And again, when you're waiting for things, everything else now gets sort of backlogged behind it. We'll work our way backwards. This is the new STARBASE research tree. I went right up the middle, got number 1 of all of these, got to the assembly metal efficiency, boosted this up as high as I could get it, which is tier 4 here, to reduce the cost of everything else in this entire tree. They all use the assembly metals. If you can make it cheaper, then you get more value out of the limited amount of metals that you do get from doing the Cardassian armadas. Again, pushed through here, unlocked what I could, and then I got to the ones that increased the loot from doing armadas. I'm working on this one for the Stella to get more Stella loot, so I can do that loop of cycling and scrapping to boost my Stella research, since most of the Stella comes from, most of its power comes from the researches, not from the actual ship itself. Uncommon loot there, moving way through. Did not do this for Latinum, for concentrated Latinum, because, well, it only boosts it for the Devore Fisha, and I don't have one of those yet. I don't get that until a little bit later, so this was not a priority. Can skip that. Moved right through. This is getting more rare credits from Armada chests, which is important because there's good value in those. This was the big one I wanted to get. These efficiencies here. Kind of stuck here because we're not going to have this for the Alliance Starbase for a while, so everything's at tier 2. Getting a 15% reduction. This cost no crystal to do. No gas, no ore is used here, but it lowers the cost of all my other research. You know, it adds a 15% cost reduction to the base cost. So now, even when I want to do the efficiencies in the other trees, they cost less than they would. Those usually you have to spend crystal to reduce your crystal expenses. This one now makes everything else a little cheaper, so now I'm spending less to get a better reduction to make other things then cost less. It's not as much of an upfront investment. So these are very important, and I'm glad I was able to get to those at least. Wish I could push them higher. but I'm sort of limited by what my alliance can do in that aspect as well. Even if I had the alliance points, which is a new feature they added this month, I would be stuck here based on the where the alliance starbase is right now. And then again here with the Epic Armada credits and the Epic Stella credits here as well. Moving into territory, again, I wish I had the Warp Coil one boosted up, wish I had the Meridian one boosted up so I have more available here. Officer conditioning for stats, this could also be boosted a little higher, but it requires some of this other stuff to get done, and 3.5 days for this one isn't all that great. I want to get to this one, but trying to soak up 3.5 days on something that I don't necessarily need, getting a little more ship XP, it's nice, but it's not helping me a lot, but it's one of those other little roadblocks. I would really want this one for the officer stat boost, but I've had to prioritize other things in front of it. Same thing with some of these PvP-based ones to reduce PvP damage. You can see I have plenty of materials available, but it's a day and a half, and you can see the power gain on it is only 750. So doing these isn't helping me win or complete any research-based events or win any research leaderboards. I'm basically just using speed-ups to get this done quicker, or taking up a day and a half of my research queue. And since it's my only research queue, I've had to prioritize against that. I wish I had these done. I do. I would love to have better damage or more, dodge or deflection and things in PvP fights. But sometimes, those are the priorities you have to make. If you have multiple research queues, or if you're investing and spending a little bit of money in the game and you have extra speed ups in Latinum, you move through some of this stuff fast. If you take your time and move through the game slower than I did, obviously some of this stuff will also be caught up, but those are the trade-offs. Time in one area leaves you with less time in other areas. Moving along, efficiencies right here. These are all level 3. These are all as high as they can get for right now. When I get R&D to 34, which should happen in just a second here, I'll be able to do another round of these efficiencies, which will lower the cost of my ship components. My researches will also get cheaper. And again, these should be a priority, which will get done as soon as that's going. Would love to upgrade this stuff to make the ship stronger through the research. Just, these all require the R&D 34 plus probably the ones before it to also be upgraded sometimes. And again, we'll be doing a bit of catch up with some of this stuff. That's 35. Can't do that one yet. And then out here is still all locked. The Starship tree. We have a little bit of boost to the Discovery Warp Range. Do not have summoning yet. Summoning here requires that you have the Mycelium jump and the impulse speed completed. So it's 10 levels of this, 3 levels of this, plus then you need several thousand of these spores for summoning itself. And as you can see, the research here takes a good amount, 2,000, to finish this up. And then each of these will probably increase exponentially. So, 130, 250, 400, etc., until the final levels are probably over 2,000 apiece as well there. And then I can spend another couple thousand in order to do Discovery summoning here. Something I had to kind of put on hold for a little bit. Not doing a whole lot of jumping around the galaxy, so I figured this is an area that I could, again, push back a little bit further. Would love to have my Latinum mining and cargo capacity up a little further. Would also love to have some of these swarm moved up a little bit further. Would help with the Franklin. The Franklin works pretty well for 32s. Cannot kill a 35 with it yet, though. Tried that earlier today. Did not go so well. But being able to get a couple of these researches up a little bit further, get an extra damage and extra mitigation and things, may certainly make a difference there. This will have to be an area that I'll have to catch up on before I move up to 35, and then I'm be expected to kill bigger things. Might have to focus on some of those. Nanoprobes. This is the Mantis tree. The Mantis has not been released as of the time of this for free to play. The only way currently to get it was to have purchased it. Whether you bought half of it and got half of it in the Elite Battle Pass, or you bought the whole ship outright, there should be a path to the Mantis coming out soon, and then some of this stuff will be more relevant. That'll also improve sourcing for Strange New Worlds officers for free-to-play players as well. The Mantis isn't available until 33, so you'd kind of still be in the same boat about where I am right now, where, hey, I just got the 34 and I've just kind of got my Mantis going, and now let me see what I can start sourcing. Where's the Outlaw tree at? Well, we went through here, we got our Stella, we've worked on some of our Stella research. Now, the Stella's been something that I have been able to control a little bit more. My Stella's probably a little bit bigger than some other players my level, or at least players who haven't been playing, players who've been playing longer than I have. I'm probably equal with or a little further ahead of than some of them, because this is something I chose to control. Leveling up the Stella and scrapping it and doing that whole loop is something that you can grind for. You can put in the time, you can form groups to get people to run armadas, so you can keep getting the currency that you need to open the armada chests, to get the uranium, to build, to level, to scrap, and over to be able to do some of these researches. The efficiencies, again, you're kind of limited by ops level, and some of these other researches here. Again, do need to play a little bit of catch up on some of those, but I think this one also requires a nice little commitment of ore, which I've previously been using on the ops upgrades themselves. And again, do need to play, should have this. I think I just scrapped a Stella, so I'll be able to pick my next tree here, whether I want to go the top half or the bottom half. Should be going the top half on this one to get to ship component efficiency across the top, and gas building research efficiency, which is better because more buildings require gas and good amounts of it, especially going forward. Don't have any of this stuff out here yet. Away teams. Went through all the basics, worked on this stuff a little bit, got a little extra cargo capacity, got a little bit extra mining. Again, just sort of unlock some of this stuff. Starting to be able to work now on upgrading stats for officers this way. And then here's the reputation boosts, which I haven't gotten to yet, and anything out here is a little too far ahead of the game. Galaxy tab, again, would like to have these additional mining, so I mine faster, get more resources, but again, had to choose and prioritize and make some sacrifices. Definitely behind on some of this stuff on the parts, need to get those up, need to get the advanced training. These I can't move up to 35 anyway, but I could start getting this defense training, attack training, weapon refractor. Some of this stuff here could also boost some ship stats. These again do cost good amounts of resources, which are the limiting ability. Things that do not cost resources are out here with the cloaking research area. These are a good thing. These two are great to invest in because they just require materials and then the cloaking things, and they give a nice big boost to all your ships. And again, at 34, we'll be able to play catch up with that and then try and get some of these costs down here as well. Station tab, this one's fairly well caught up in the early part. Some of these things you're kind of forced to move, but as you start working down this tree, would like to get the defense of the base upgraded a little higher, especially with incursions happening on a regular basis, and then some of these other pures to reduce costs of components. But again, these do take time. These are 2.5 days a piece, so kind of limiting there. And then out here, you can see also still kind of far behind there. And even in the combat tree, our last tree here we'll look at, things are, the first half is all maxed out, and then things start to go a little by the wayside. They're, made some progress. Since most of my ships were battleships, between the Legionary, the Stella, and the Bortas, didn't focus as much on Explorer, Interceptor, kind of let a few of these go. But then you start running into some of these need these to be done, and then in order to get to the battleship ones, you need the Explorer ones upgraded or the Interceptor ones upgraded, or you just need to spend, like 4 days on some of this stuff. And moving out here again to the faction-based ones, again, still need to play a little bit of catch-up there. So definitely behind on research. Officers aren't bad for the most part. I feel like they're in a pretty decent spot overall. I've unlocked all of the ships through Cosmic Cleanup. Did not get the sarcophagus. That was the one I skipped. That one takes 20 weeks to unlock between the pulls. Not really worth it, to be honest. So it's a one-trick pony, and again, it takes 20 weeks to unlock. Maybe that'll be what we start working on next year. For Phase 2, now that Phase 1, that first 6-month window here is complete. Syndicate was the last thing. Syndicate I was able to get up to level 10. Between the daily pulls and getting the rewards and things like that from the battle pass, Syndicate level 10, not bad. Not bad at all. For, again, not spending any money on any Syndicate things, not having a Mantis, which drastically improves the rate at which you gain Syndicate XP. And, should continue moving up. Should get to tier 11 within the next, month or so, and then over the next 30 or 40 days, accumulate also enough shards to then tier Grush up one more notch as well here with tier 11. Probably before I get to level 12 here, where it gives you the extra 50, he'll probably already be ready to tier up. Whether I'll have the independent credits will be another thing, but there's that. I think that's really about it. I think I've gone through everything else. I have a treasury. It is still the free lockbox. I'll claim this stuff while I'm right here. We can look at the alliance chests real quick. Well, let's do this. So at 34, here's the 7-day loyalty chest, which you can see is giving a little bit of speed ups, some research, some recruit tokens, little bits of 3-star materials. The 30-day chests is given out a little bit better, but still kind of smaller quantities. Basically, it's just 4 times the regular one, with a little bit of a bonus by getting some of the extra tokens and some little bit stronger speed ups. This is what the 30-day chests are looking like. Over in the recruit tab, you can see I've got the refit bonus on the discovery. And now that the amalgam is unlocked, I can start accumulating this as well. This will also help, start the sourcing of refits and things. And I did just get my first transporter pattern, so now I can also start picking and choosing officers here to start working towards, whether it's getting Giorgio unlocked, probably, or any of these other officers that I would want to start working towards, or 6 of 11, start working towards to tier up. Probably be Giorgio first and then 6 of 11, since the rest of these I have unlocked, and tiering them up isn't really going to help a whole lot. And then I can start looking at other officers like Riker or 3 of 11 to go from there. The Alliance bundles, well, these are the new ones with the Cardassian armadas, but just in terms of what's in the recruit packs here, the rare armada packs still getting little bits of resources and epic armada directives, but they do have the epic ship blueprints in them now, as well as the 31 miners only. The 32 rare ships have dropped out, so now this should also, it's still going to be random, but if I can get into or set a couple of rare armadas and start picking up some of these tokens, also the benefit of getting the Bortos up a little bit more, do more damage, hit better things, get better tokens, This may also help with sourcing for some of these auger blueprints. They are also available in the Epic Armada chests, along with bigger amounts of resources, as well as the faction credits that may also help. But this one does still have the stupid hijacked ships in it. Don't know why these are still here, because these things are terrible and a complete waste of time. But they have to put something else in there to kind of water this pool down. Otherwise, people would use it and get their epic ships faster. And I think that really is about it. So there's your recap, everything I was able to accomplish and kind of where things stand now. You want to use this as a measuring stick for yourself. If you try and pull off a 6-month challenge like this, and see just exactly what you can accomplish. This did involve playing multiple hours per day in order to do this. And like I said, I was grinding, faction hostiles to get some of the factions locked, to be able to get the recruit packs, to open the officers, to get to the better recruit packs. So you're spending less faction credits per recruit pack, or grinding Stella hostiles so I can be able to open those chests, using the Vidar, getting the Borg refinery parts and things like that, grinding the Franklin to get it up higher so we can save on repair time and repair bills, as instead of using a regular ship for killing, 5 or 6 hours to repair, a Bortos or a Saladin or something like that when you're using it for your dailies, or 80 or 90 minutes to repair when you're using the Franklin, and a lot cheaper. So those are the little things that you had to trade off. That's it. Mission accomplished. We hit 34 within 6 months. Super excited about being able to do that. And now we're just going to keep plugging along until we get the Epic. I'm hoping to do that maybe another couple weeks here. We'll see what exactly we've got going on with the new arc launching. Maybe there'll be some opportunities. Keep hitting some away teams. Get some criticals in some of these away team missions. Get some extra materials. Start accumulating those, or get some faction credits from the away team missions, and go from there. Thank you very much for watching this far. I hope you've enjoyed going on this ride with me through 1 through 34, and learned a few things. I know I relearned a few things. Hopefully you guys learned a few things too. For any specific details about ships or officers or strategies and things, you're most likely going to find those in the specific ops level videos that I've done as part of this series. And I will have that final part of 31 through 33 coming out real soon. Just have to put some notes and thoughts and calculations and stuff together to do some side-by-side comparisons of ships and things like that. So that's it, man. I hope you guys have, and like I said, enjoyed learning with me again, and learn from some of the things that I've done and done incorrectly or done correctly and efficiently to help you improve your gameplay and your progress time. And I'll see you around the galaxy. Take it easy. Subscribe.